Hello, a very good morning to you all. I hope you are well. It seems quite warm and bright today, but in here it seems quite dark. So don't know what's going on with the weather. I hope it's okay where you are. Let me just try and adjust my camera a little bit. So today I'm going to be making some lovely wire bangles with you. Really straightforward. The simplest of wire bangles that you will make. I'm putting them in quotations. They are made with wire, so they are wire bangles, but there is very little weaving. Here we go, this is how it looks. What I love about them is they shape to your wrist. They are moldable. So I'm using 2 gauges of wire. I'm using a 1mm wire, which is a 18 gauge, and I'm using a 0.4 weaving wire, which is a 26 gauge, I think. We've got some lovely colourful crystals for you. There's 3 colourways, and they come with little magnetic clasps, jump rings. You really don't need much at all. And we've got a good deal on for you as well. So I think for under £10, I think I will check the website. It's been one of those mornings so far. But I think you can make 3 bangles with them. So really lovely, really comfortable to wear. They come on and off really easily with that little magnetic clasp. And I'll show you them down on the mat as well, so you can have a little look at them. I'm going to say a quick good morning to you. I'm hoping it's all working on both platforms and the sound is okay and everything's working as it should be today. So let me know, how are you? What have you been up to? It's Friday again. Have you had a good week? What have you been making? And what's the weather like where you are? As I've said that, the sun's just gone, I'm here, and it's starting to brighten up. Good morning, says Rachel from a bright and breezy Barrow. Good morning to Jan, who's in a bright Sudbury. Francis is in as well, in a sunny Perth. Good morning to Mina. Jan says these bracelets are beautiful. Thank you so much. There's loads of different ways you can make a bangle. And these are, I think, the straightforward ones that you will do, or the most straightforward ones that you will do. Hello to Celia. She says, good morning, first live in months. Well, I am honoured, Celia, that you've come and joined me today. I hope you're well, my love. Judith's in as well. She says, weather not worth mentioning, says Judith. Good morning to everyone. It's just a mixed bag, isn't it? Good morning to Carol, and Tracy's in as well. Right, I'll take you over to the website now while we wait for a few more of you to join us, and you can have a little look and see what it is that you would like to make, which colourway. Elena's in as well. She says, good morning. Just started to rain in Accrington. Mina says, I love this bangle. I might try it in rainbow as I've got lots of crystal beads. What I would suggest is, if you don't want to do these colourways, get the wire and these kits today, because you can easily add in your own colour crystals if you wish. And this is all measured out for you, so they all fit to these measurements, but you can change it up. But I would suggest you get the wire if you can, because it's got all of the, the findings and things that you will need to make along. But if you've already got that, then just watch and enjoy. Good morning to Elaine, who says good morning. So far on Facebook, sunny and breezy here in South Lincolnshire. I can feel a sneeze. So if my eyes start watering, I'm not upset. I'm doing my best to hold the sneezing. Good morning to Barbara. She says good morning. She's going to catch on the replay a little bit early for her there, so that's fair enough. I hope you have a lovely morning. Go back to bed, Barbara. Good morning to Kath. Right, let me take you over to the website. So we are totallybeads.co.uk. We ship worldwide, so you can change your currency if you want to get your kits. Click into the video tutorials here, or in the Learn to Make Jewellery category, and you'll see lots of lovely things that we've been making over the last couple of weeks. There's so many things there. It's wonderful. These today are the wire crystal cuff bracelets. I've not given them a fancy name. I just wanted to say what they were. And you can see you can make 3 bracelets up for just £9.99. So you're going to get a lot of your crystal beads, you're going to get plenty of your wire, and you're going to get your findings as well. So we've got a champagne and gold, a gold and teal, and we've got a silver and pink colourway for you as well. If you wanted to multi-buy, you could mix the colours up, or swap them over. So you could have the teal on the silver, or you could have the pink on the champagne, whatever you would like to do. I do think the crystals of the champagne and gold and the teal would look particularly lovely. So let me head into this for you, and you can see we've only popped the one picture on, but all I'm doing is I'm making either wrap loops or turned loops. I'll probably do a turned loop because I find it's again easier, and we're just going to use that 1mm wire as your base kind of wire, as your frame, a little bit of weaving wire just to wrap on those crystals, and then we're going to add that lovely magnetic clasp attached by those jump rings. So the jump rings that you're getting in your kit today are 8x1. You can use smaller jump rings, but I just thought that just fitted nicely in terms of the diameter of how I'm going to shape and make this bracelet. And the bracelet width is just the width of the crystals. The crystals we're using are 4x6. These ones are the dark champagne AB, so they have lots and lots of twinkles on them. Beautiful facet cut. I'm using copper wire with these. They are plated. So they're plated in a colour remain coating, so the coating doesn't come off very easily, and they just have a lovely kind of malleability, very easy to work with kind of form because it's copper, but a lovely colour to it as well. So that is all you need in terms of your materials. Jump rings, a clasp. You don't have to use a magnetic clasp. If you want to swap that out as well, you can. I just wanted to show you really the technique with these. And then we've got those lovely gauges of wire to work with as well. You could use maybe a 0.8 wire with this instead, but I do think the 1 or even a 1.2 is better. The thicker your base wires are for this, the more sturdy. So I've gone for the 1 because it's still easy enough to turn that loop, but it's strong enough to hold that form and that shape. We've also got the gold and teal, which looks like this. And again, I'll take you down on the mat so you can have a little look how they are in the flesh, so to speak. Really easy wrapping technique with these. And then we've also got the silver wire and the silver finding with the lovely pink crystals. So the pink crystals, again, same size, 4x6. These are your lovely sparkly pink ones. And we've got that silver spotted magnetic clasp in this case. So not many colourways for you today, but enough for you to kind of get the idea of, you know, how they can look and what you can do with them. So let me head back into the live. So that's each kit makes up 3 bangles, and to be fair, you might have little bits left over depending on the size in which you want to make your bangle to, and they are £9.99. Good morning to Trish. Hello to Yolanda. She's saying she hopes everybody has a wonderful weekend and happy Friday. Sally is asking, good morning, Natalie and everyone. I hope you're well. Where did that week go? If that's your question, Sally, I can't help you with that. I've got no idea. It's gone super, super quick. And then she says, could you tell me how much to join Bead Club per year? And can you save them as it takes a while to sink in this old brain box? If you have a little look, Sally, in the description on here, in the drop down, which it says things like materials for your kit, it'll take you to a link to the Bead Club, and you can click on that and it'll give you all that information as well. I don't do the Bead Club myself personally. It's on, I think, 2 or 3 times a week. I think it might be twice. So they do a morning session and an afternoon session. So depending on what day and what time suits you. Or I think it's like a daytime one and an evening one. But all the information should be there for you, Sally. Good morning to Lisa. I hope you're well. Good morning to Anne. How are you? Okay, Mina's responding to you, Sally. She says, for B Club, all you need to do is just call the warehouse and they can help you with the details you need. There should be the link as well in the description, and that should kind of take you over to the B Club website. And I think the information will be on there for you. But yeah, lots of different ways to find out. Thanks, Mina. Okay, let me take you down on the mat and I will show you what we're making today. It is going to be a fairly quick make, providing everything works as it should. So this is the beautiful teal. Slight delay on my fingers. I do apologise for my nails. I've not redone them. I've been doing lots of work instead, and I've also been making clay pots this week and all sorts of things. So this is the teal. You can see how sparkly they are and how lovely those crystals just fit together in the centre all the way around. That magnetic clasp just opens up, so you can see you can shape this. I've made a teeny tiny one here. If I show you, it looks quite small. I've used a lot less crystals, so again, if you can make these to any size you want really easily. That magnetic clasp opens, so I can just, what I like about these bracelets is you don't struggle to put them on when it's got the magnetic clasp on. It just clicks into place. And again, you can shape it to your wrist. Your wrist is not round, it is oval shaped. So we will shape these together. That's a point. I haven't got something cylindrical to hand to do that. Let me get my, this will do. Just excuse me, just getting something cylindrical. You don't need a bracelet mandrel for this. Something like a glass tumbler or anything will work, or you can just shape it directly onto your wrist. So this one, we've got the lovely, we've used the kind of copper, like rose gold coloured clasp in this one, and this one is your champagne crystals with your wire. So you can see that there is a difference in the wires there. You've got like a light gold colour with this beautiful teal one. You've got more of a kind of champagne kind of coppery colour, which I think look beautiful with these sparkly crystals. And then you've got this beautiful one here, which is your pink on the silver. So you can see I've done the wraps a little bit different. On this one, I've turned them and made wrap loops, but just turning a loop will make this nice and strong. You'll see that clasp just fits through those jump rings, and it's really, really very easy to make. Thank you, Lisa. She says, I love your earrings. What ones have I got in? I can't say I made these ones myself. I didn't, but they they remind me of the Little Mermaid, when Ariel gets other Disney films and other fairy tales are available, but when she gets married at the end, she's got like pearl drops, and she's my favourite. So when I see them, I was like, ooh. So let's get started. I apologise for the bits on my desk. I have got a new lint roller. I got two, but there's still stuff everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to take my 1mm wire, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten this out. So I'm just running it through my nylon coated pliers. If you've not got these, you can get other wire straighteners, or if you just position your wire in a cloth, you can just run it through your fingers. But I just want to make that wire fairly straight, to be honest. I find it easier to do off the reel, but I haven't got a reel of this. I've just got an offcut, and I should have enough. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to position my 1mm, which is my 18 gauge, against my ruler, and I'm going to cut off about 10 inches. This will be more than enough to make pretty much any size bangle. You can cut off any that you don't feel you need. So 10 inches is about 26 centimetres. So I'm just going to trim that off, and I want 2 lengths of that. So I'm just coming in with my flush cutters and giving that a little cut. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other part of my wire, which is straightened out, and I'm going to lay that against this one. I've got just enough there, which is lucky, because you'd think I'd have every gauge of wire to hand, but I didn't. And I was looking around this morning thinking, I hope I've got enough. I didn't pick enough up from the warehouse. Okay, so I've got two lengths which are now the same, so they're 10 inches. And what I want to do now is I'm just going to turn a loop at the end. So you can use your round nose pliers for this, or you can use your bail step pliers if you've got them. Both will work absolutely fine. If you're using your bail step pliers, you're going to ensure that you've got a perfectly formed loop. Now there's two ways of doing your loop. You can turn it and then tilt it to knock it straight, or you can put a little bend in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire and about 2 centimeters up. It doesn't have to be hugely precise, but I'm just going to put, actually I'm not, I'm going to go for about 1 centimeter. I think that's all I'm going to need, 1.5 centimeters. I'm going to form quite a small loop, so I'm just going to put a little bend in it here. I think that's quite a large bend. And again, you can measure that up with the other one if you want to make it exactly the same. So I'm just putting a little horizontal bend in it. And the reason why I'm bending it first is it's just going to make that loop turn perfectly straight to sit on top of the wire. So I'm going to get my bail step pliers and I'm going to decide what size loop that I want. And I'm just going to turn it. I think I'm going to go for that smaller one. So I'm just going to go all the way around. I think I'm going to go with the round nose, because I don't need it to be that big. And I'm just going to form that little loop. So you could do it that way where you bend it first, or you could just turn it. I'll show you how to just turn it at the end and then knock it straight. So just form a loop however big you want. I think that might be a little bit too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten it out. And see, this is why the wire is forgiving. If you think I don't want that bend there, you can just straighten it back out with your pliers. So I'll show you how to do both ways. So if I've got a nice straight wire, what I can do is I can just turn the loop that I want, so it's sitting like a pea shape, put my pliers back in to that loop, and then just knock it up. So all I'm doing is I'm pushing the pressure back on, and that will form a loop for me. I think I prefer that size a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this one back out again, straighten out that little bend at the end. So I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on it. And you can see, although I'm bending this in and out and doing all sorts of different, things on it, I'm not really marking that wire much because it's got that coating on, so it's being quite forgiving. So I'm going to take the loop, just check what size I used, that one. I'm going to give it a little turn. So I'm positioning it in nice and flush. Let's get that better. And I'm just going to rotate it all the way around to make that kind of pea shape. And I want that sitting flat and up, so I'm just going to bend it back in. So you can bend it if you want and turn a loop like we usually would, or you can do it that way. But what I want is I want my loops to be the same on both ends, really. So then I'm going to take one of my wires and I'm going to position it so this loop is kind of facing up. Now, as I'm wrapping on it, you might find that it does turn and it does twist. So I'm just going to keep repositioning as I go. I'm now going to get my weaving wire out. Now, you need quite a lot of weaving wire. I would say about 150 centimetres, but it does depend on how many crystals you want to add to it. And I'm just going to do a couple of arm spans. I'm not going to measure this out. but you do need to work off the reel with it because you need to kind of attach it through those beads. So I'm just going to cut a length of my 0.4. And then on my base wire, on the 1mm, I'm going to start a little bit further up to wrap this on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my weave-in wire and I'm going to start from that loop. So if I've bent it, I've bent about 1 centimetre. I didn't want too much of a loop, so I did bend it too much, but I'd have bent it from 1 centimetre or made my small loop. And then when I start to wrap my wire on, I'm going to move slightly up from that loop. So I'll probably only leave maybe 1 inch in or a couple of centimetres in. So if you want to be precise, I'm going to start around there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my weaving wire and I'm going to wrap it around. So I'm placing the weaving wire on top of the base wire and I'm just going to hold on to that tail end and I'm going to wrap it round. I'm going to wrap it 5 times. So 3, 4, 5. And each time I'm making that wrap is going to sit next to the last one. So I'm kind of making a coil with it. I'm not wrapping over the wire itself. I'm just moving down along the wire. And then I'm going to come in with my cutters and I'm going to trim this tiny little tail, this starting tail off. So what you can do is you can use your pliers to kind of tuck it all in and make sure it's nice and neat. Trim off with the cutters and then tuck that little end down. So with a pair of chain nose pliers or whatever you've got, just give that a little kind of smush in and just make sure there's no sharp edges sticking up there. I've injured my hands, so I've managed to get a piece of wire in my finger because I wasn't looking at what I was doing and was using my tools, and then I've managed to make a boo-boo just on this part with with a pair of pliers. Don't ask me what I was doing. That's what happens when you sit up late making. So yeah, my hands look a bit battered. I do apologise. So I've got my long length, about 150 centimetres of my 0.4 weaving wire, and I've wrapped it onto the base wire, and then I'm going to get out my crystals. So you'll use as many crystals as you want, really, as many as you want for the length of your bangle. Obviously the one that I'm wearing on my wrist at the moment is quite small, but you've got plenty in there to make 3 large bangles. So I'm going to get my first crystal out, and on the end of my tail wire I'm going to thread on my first crystal. So I'm just going up through the bead and I'm going to get myself in a bit of a tangle because I've got a long length of wire, and I'm going to position it so my wire is facing up, so that loop will be facing up and my bead will just be starting. This can move, that's absolutely fine. It's just starting a few centimetres down. And then I'm going to take the other wire that we made and I'm going to put the base wire above the other one with the loops in the same direction. So they're both sitting up like this. Let me fix my camera. I know today is just going to be one of those days. Do bear with me. Hello. I think it just overheats and cuts off. But we did really well last live. It stayed on at all points. Felisa commenting on my earrings. These are what she's talking about. Does anybody else get what I mean when I'm like, they remind me of the Little Mermaid? Or is it just me? Right, my phone's getting hot. Let's see. Okay. So these will move around at first, and it's only tricky while you attach the first few crystals. It gets much more straightforward as these join together. So I'm going to place my wire. Again, I want that to be positioned around the same point. Don't worry if these are moving. I want them facing each other, but we can adjust. So the loops are in line with each other, and it's kind of an easy way of kind of channel setting essentially. So I'm going to come in through the top, around the back of that wire, and I'm going to wrap the wire, and I'm wrapping it quite taut because I want those two base wires to stay nice and straight and to stay parallel, and the distance between them will be the size of the crystal. So I'm going to wrap that round twice, and then on the third time what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the wire back through the hole in the crystal. I've got a ridiculously long length of wire. I should have measured it out. So again, don't worry if they move for now. So 2 wraps around the top, and then I'm going to bring it back through this crystal. Now if I position it like this, you might be able to see there's plenty of space in the crystal, but you need to just make sure you can see that hole. So you can push it with your finger. If I can show you. So that third wrap is just coming over that top wire, and it's going to go back through and out through the other side. So the first one can be a little bit fiddly, and then it all kind of, the more you put on, the more it all forms together nicely. I think I'm going to cut off some of this weaving wire. So I'm just pulling that down, and I'm trying to keep that straight. So when I get to the point where I've just got a little loop, I'm just going to do it nice and slowly, guide that wire if I need to. So it's just going to sit next to that little wrap at the top, and I can position that down again with my pliers if I need to. So I'll have 3 wraps around the top and 5 around the bottom. Again, these will move up and down. Don't worry too much. Good morning to Anastasia. Hope you're well. She says they're having thunderstorms in Atlanta this weekend. And Debbie's saying, little late today, but very sunny here. Debbie's asking, the B Club group is lovely. Oh, she's replying to Sally. Once the recorded videos and written tutorials are uploaded, you can access them anytime and print them off and save the PDF. So that's a handy way. Whereas with these lives, they don't really come with written instructions, just my verbal ones, which today, I'll be honest, I'm not doing as well as usual, making it sound as straightforward as it is, but you can watch back at any point. So 5 wraps on the bottom, crystal on, 3 wraps around the top, and then I'm going to add 5 wraps around the bottom. And I'm doing the 5 wraps just to make that wire travel enough. So when I add that next crystal on, it'll sit nice and neat against each other. So you can see I'm just bringing the wire through the middle of the base wires, guiding it round with my finger. You'll see I just kind of push it into place. And then I travel that wire down. So I've got 5 wraps on, and then I'm going to add my next crystal. So bend that wire slightly up because that's the direction it's traveling in. I am going to cut some of this weaving wire off because I don't need that much, and I think it'll be easier to show you under the camera. So then I'm going to add my next crystal on. And I want to keep making these wires straight. So if at any point they start to kind of bend or anything, these base wires, then I'm just going to gently run them through my pliers again. They're going to stay as I add more crystals, really nice and parallel. The distance between them will be just the size of the crystal, and I'll be able to twist those loops so they're facing the same direction, facing upwards like so. But when I first start to wrap, I will hold it like this, so they're just easier to keep hold of. So the crystal fits now nicely just next to the next one. And I'm going to wrap twice around the top wire, making sure the crystal is nice and straight and it's fairly taut, so those wires are placed nicely around the crystal. You can just push them down a little bit. And then on the third wrap, I'm going to go back through the hole in the crystal. So taking the tail end, going through. So sometimes you can push a little bit of pressure between the crystal and the wire, and that will just move it. So you'll see that wire is coming back through. Now you can make this extra neat by checking where the wire comes down through that bead. So usually I find as I do this, it tends to come behind this base wire here. The first one, it's come above. So I'm going to keep continuing that just to get that kind of look. So on this one here, you'll see the wire from the bottom has come behind. Oh dear. It's going to be a very long live if it keeps cutting off after, what's that, 10 minutes? Again, I don't want to go on the other browser because I don't want the awful feedback sound. Do bear with me. I am very sorry. I don't know why it's playing up today. Okay, so if you can see on this one here, the wire is coming from the back and over the top. And I'm just making sure that's the same so it's consistent, but it doesn't matter which way you do it. If the wire comes in front, just bring it back to the front of the wire there and keep going that way. It just makes your wraps look nice and neat. So again, 5 on the bottom, 1, 2. If you want to, every now and again, you can just pinch together with your pliers, just to make, very gently, just to make sure those 3 wraps on the top are nice and neat, and the wraps on the bottom are nice and neat. Now, as you're going and you're adding your crystals in place, just bear in mind the position of these, because as you can see at the moment, you can move them quite easily. As more crystals go on, these will firm up. So I don't mind too much that these can twist still, but I'd like the loops to at least be even with each other so we've got that little distance. So I'm just wrapping round, just a very easy pattern repeat on those weaves. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back up to add the next crystal. I am trying to keep this weaving wire nice and straight as well, so I'm just going to run that through my fingers every now and again, and then pick the next one up. So the crystal goes onto the weaving wire, it drops down between the base wires, and I just get that positioned so they either sit straight next to each other, or you can do them where they kind of slightly tilt, but I want them to be positioned the same. So a bit of pressure between my finger and my thumb to hold it in place. This weaving wire will then just go over the top one, nice and taut, to get that distance between the two. Wrapping over twice, and then on the third wrap, as it comes down, it's going to go back down through the crystal. So a little bit of pressure, just move those wraps up, a little bit of pressure, just to expose the hole in that crystal so it's easy to get it through. Make sure your weaving wire doesn't kind of catch in between those base wires, it just needs to fit over the top. So do this bit nice and slow, making sure there's no kinks in the wire as we create that third little wrap at the top there. And then again, you'll see my wires come from the back, and that's fine, but because my first one I positioned at the front, I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to bring that wire so it comes down the front to that base wire, and then wrap 5 times. Pinch it in if you want to make it nice and close and neat. So just bringing it over, guiding it with my finger to push it down underneath the crystal. And then as I do so, I'm not putting too much pressure on these bits here, just holding it. If you've got like a ring clamp, you could put it in your ring clamp if you want to. A little bit of pressure just to neaten it up. So I'm going to add a few more of these. I won't add them all, but just enough to show you, and then how to turn the ends on this. So I've done 5 wraps along the bottom. I'm going to bring it back up and add my next crystal. So if, as Mina's saying about doing a rainbow one, I did suggest to Simon if we could put some more crystals on the page in different colours, because I thought that would be a nice option too. So if when I've finished this, what I'll do is I'll go onto the website and I'll just type the crystals in, show you how to search for the size that I'm using here. So if you want to add some extra ones into your basket, you absolutely can. Because I do think like a multicoloured one would look lovely too. I just picked these because I thought it would go nice with the colours of the wire. So all I'm doing is just making sure that loop is at the top, because it's got a habit of wanting to come back through here. So 2 wraps on the top, and then on the 3rd wrap, it's going to come back through the crystal, making sure those wires are parallel to each other. I'm just going to reposition it because it's moved over slightly. So I want that sitting over there. Back through the crystal, neatening up as I go, and then over or behind that base wire to wrap 5 times. So it is kind of channel setting. Essentially, you're making a channel for your beads, your crystals to sit in. I'm still making sure these loops are level with each other, so I've got that space. And what I will start to do is just start to turn, because I want those wires and loops to sit on top of each other when I have my clasp in. And I'll find I'll start to kind of hold the crystals, hold a little bit further as I go. So I'm not necessarily touching those loops, but you need to kind of hold on to those to the start just to get you going. So again, adding on my next crystal. Anybody can do this. It's really, really straightforward. Positioning my crystal, so I position it as I want it to be. I'll find that as I wrap it round the top, it will sit nicely between the wires, and that drill hole will sit straight. 2 wraps round the top, And then the third wrap, when I come over, I'm going to go down that crystal. So if I can just show you here, put a little bit of pressure on that bead, and that just exposes the hole easy enough for me to be able to see that I'm just bringing that wire back through. I'm making sure that that loop is straight and there's no kinks in it. So as I bring it down, it's going to sit nice and neat just next to that last wrap there. There we go. Wire is coming in front and 5 around the bottom. Can just straighten them out if need be. And if these do move, just give it a little pull gently just to line them back up again. I'm not going to do all of my beads because I just want to show you how that will move. So if you do find it moves, just very gently position it back, keeping those in line. But you can add on as many as you want in terms of the size. Just keep checking against your ruler. I think I've put about 17 on for an 8-inch bracelet. Let me count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 29, and I'll stretch that out because we can easily shape it again. So end to end, that's about 8 inches. So you're just going to continue with your beads for as long as you want. So I'll leave that there for now, and I'll just add a few more on. Natalie, you will now have to do a ring tutorial in this pattern to match the bangle. Yeah, I've got a couple of ring tutorials coming up. I mean, you can do rings with this channel setting, but I wouldn't have the loops the same because you want it to be comfortable under your fingers. So I'd attach them in a different way or weave them together to create the shank. But you could experiment with it, Mina, if you wanted to, and let me know how you get on. I've got a couple of rings coming up using various different methods. One I'm particularly excited for, to be honest. They're really, really cute. I might give you a sneak peek, but I'm not sure what day I'm doing that on. It's scheduled, I can't remember from when. So again, bringing that loop around the top, watching it's not going to twist because it'll want to, making sure that when that wire comes down, it's still sitting. So just position it where you want it to sit. I don't want it to cross over the others. I want it to just sit next to it and behave itself. So use your tools on your fingernails if need be, just to kind of guide it into place. Wires coming up at the top. Good morning, Angela. How are you doing? If you are just joining us, this is a crystal cuff bangle that I'm making. My camera's not really behaving itself too much. I just feel like I'm having a bit of a morning where I'm a little bit out of sync, to be honest. But thankfully, I've got a really, really easy make for you. So it should be easy enough to follow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, back up. And again, just be mindful of the pressure you're putting on this. You can easily bend this as you're holding it. And we just want it to stay straight and to stay parallel as we go. Angela says it's my 66th birthday tomorrow and I can officially retire. Woohoo! Well done, my love. Happy, happy birthday. I hope you're going to have the loveliest day tomorrow. What are you doing? Have you got anything nice planned? Mina says you've got the cocktail rings on Monday. Is it this Monday coming up, Mina? Okay, I'll give you a sneaky peek of that then when I finish this, so you can see what we're doing on Monday. So I'm going to position that crystal where I want it to be. I'm not being too forceful on the wire, but I'm holding it in a way that the wire is fairly taut. So if I leave a big gap of wire, then it's not going to fit as snugly in between, and that's going to help keep my wires parallel because it's just basing itself on the size of the crystals I'm using, or the beads in the middle. 2 wraps around the top. On the 3rd wrap, when it comes over, it's going to go through the hole in the crystal. So you can add a little bit of pressure onto it just to expose that hole. Gently guide the wire through. This is what I mean by it wants to turn. So you'll see me just kind of twisting it back. You tell the wire who's boss and be gentle with it. The wire is now coming from the back, and because of this particular repetition I'm doing, I'm just going to bring that forward. That's going to make my crystal sit nice and straight. And I'm just going to gently wrap over. So coming in between the 2 base wires here, these are not joined, so I can just guide that wire through, and I'm going to wrap 5 times. You'll see when I do position it, I'm knocking it with my finger so it's sitting under that crystal, and then with a little, I've got all that wire in my hand here, and then this finger is just guiding. So put a little bit of pressure on it, really, just to keep it straight. This is why these nails are always the first to go with mine. Just making sure it's all nice and positioned and nice and straight. I'll add a couple more on. Mina says, I'm making rainbow jewellery for Pride Festival and I'm booked for the 10th of August. First one and trying with my friend. Oh, good luck, sweetheart. You do lots of rainbow things, don't you? So I'm sure you've got plenty of ideas. And a really good cause as well if you are donating to charities. So good luck with it all. So I'm then positioning my next crystal. Just going to make them a little bit straighter. So be very gentle when you do this. Every now and again, I might just want to straighten them out. Over the top to secure the next one in place. Bringing it up, 2 around the top. And then that 3rd one is going to come through the top of the bead, out through the bottom. Again, if you want to neaten up your wraps, do so. And then to finish, you're going to add all of the crystals on, and you're going to finish as we started with 5 wraps around the bottom. 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go along and neaten up your wraps by just giving them a little pinch if need be. I'm going to cut off, and I'm going to make sure that I tuck that in fully. Now, if, for example, your wire snapped and you wanted to add an extra bit of wire on, all I would do is I would just finish as with a couple of wraps there, or even around the top, and then I would just attach another wire on by just wrapping as usual. It's really easy if you do want to do smaller sections of the wire. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my wires, my base wires, are even and lined up. And I'm going to have them facing the same way. So I want them on top of each other like this. Just imagine you've put all of the crystals on for the length that you want. And then what I want is I want this to be the same length here. So I've got my crystals starting about 1 centimetre in. And I've also got my loops turned. So I'm going to want about 2 centimetres left of that wire without the crystals. So what I would do is I would trim off any excess I might not need, and I would make sure that both ends are the same. And then I'm going to just turn those loops as we did before. So remember, you can go 1 centimetre in. I'll show you how to do this because I did mess it up the first time round. I'm going to go about 1 centimetre in, and I'm going to give it a little bend. And I want that bend to make sure my loops face in the same direction. So I'm going to bend it up as if it's, facing the ceiling. I'm going to take the loop, which I want to be the same size as this one, and I'm going to make it nice and flush, just as we would turn in any other loop. And I'm going to go all the way round so that loop is sitting on itself, and they will be in the same direction. So you can see this loop and this loop are running nice and flat and straight. And if it's not, you can give it a little turn and a little bit of a manipulate if you want to. If you don't want to bend your wire, then you can make sure you've got the same size loop. So I'm using the second smallest on my bail step pliers. You can use your round nose pliers. And we're going to turn it all the way around, but that's going to make it into that P shape, and we don't want that. We want it to sit nice and straight. So we're going to knock it back. What I want to make sure is that my loops sit the same size as each other. So if I tilt it that way, they are sitting on top of each other as well, so you can't really see them. I want to make sure they are running straight and that there's the same amount of exposed wire on this side as it is this side. So it will look like that. And then I'm going to take my jump rings. Now I've used the 8x1 jump rings for this. Just wanted them a little bit bigger. Now these will taper down and kind of fit in with each other. It's difficult to show you because I've got this smaller size, but when the more crystals you have on, the more sturdy this becomes as well. Angela says, does food shopping count as exciting? It shouldn't do, but it does for me. Yeah, get a cake. I'm going to open up my jump ring, and I'm going to slide that through both of those loops. Again, these will stop moving as much when you've formed it all. And then I'm going to take one side of my magnetic clasp, and I'm just going to slide my clasp on and close that jump ring over. And then I will do the same on the other side. So I will take my jump ring and open up. I'm sliding it through both of those loops on the side of my bangle, and that's why I want them facing the same direction and being the same size. I'm going to put the other side of my clasp on and close it up. Now when I start to form this, I want to shape it from the middle out. So I'm just going to start to put a little bend in with my fingers like this. So I'm going to just start shaping from the middle to add that gradual curve. And you can use a glass tumbler or anything cylindrical. I've got a bracelet stand here. I'll pop it down at the bottom. So I'm just going to start moulding and shaping that. And what you'll find is these two magnetic clasps will join together, and then you can just start adding that shape to it and moulding it as you want. So you can see really easily how I bent that out of shape to show you, and then really straightforward, just bent it back into shape, which means when you have got it on your wrist, you can see this is really, really tiny, but it does fit me because all I'm doing is I'm placing it onto my wrist, closing up that magnetic clasp. So they will just, you can see there, they're wanting to join. And then I can shape it quite comfortably to my wrist. So your kit will make 3 bangles, which are about 8 inches in length in terms of how many crystals you've got. We've got 3 bracelets in 3 different colours. So your kit, you'll make 3. They are £9.99. Let me just double check that's right. Yeah, £9.99. You can get this one, which is the champagne and gold, this one, which is the gold and teal, and this one, which is the silver and the pink. But let me see if I can take you over to the website. If you want to add in different crystals, we've not put them on the web page, but you can go by bead and you can go into crystal bead here. And you can search by size. So for example, if I was to click in the rondelles, you can see we've got all these sizes. You could click into the 4x6 and you could pick out the colours you wanted. So if you wanted to do a rainbow jewellery, you could have a little scroll through and pick out the colours you wanted. There's quite a few that's showing is out of stock at the moment, but we have got loads on the website. You could also, I suppose, change the size of them as well if you wanted to. You would just obviously need to adjust your wire accordingly. In these kits today, the crystals that I'm using, the beads that I'm using the 4x6s here, but you could probably change up the size of the crystal if you wanted, but I find that using the 4x6s, using about 10 inches of the 1mm wire, probably about 150 centimeters, just to be a little bit over generous with the 0.4, will allow you to do that repetition of the 3 wraps around the top, the 5 wraps around the bottom, and that should make 3 lovely bangles for you in whatever colours that you choose. Good morning to Joanna, hope you're well. So she's going to re-watch later. Ooh, have a very busy day yesterday. Travelled to see my daughter and her newborn son. Both are doing well. Joanne, what have they called him? Oh, that's lovely. Congratulations. Look at the smile you've just given me, Joanne. Ooh, babbers. Right, rather than get broody, I'm going to show you the rings that, according to Mina, because she's far more organised than I am, we are doing on Monday. Is that right, Mina? Is this right? Okay. Really made up with these. So, I was just playing about and I thought I should take you down on the mat. Well, you'll see them because they should be on scheduled posts. Let me show you this though. They are so cute and really summery. Look at them. So, using pearls, we're going to be throwing them all over the place. I'm going to be making adjustable rings with you on Monday. They are super cute. They are adjustable, so you can have them, especially if you're making to gift or making them to sell. And I'm just going to use some wire and make this lovely little design using the pearls. Make this one a little bit bigger, but you get the same effect. Aren't they sweet? Mina says, oh, these look gorgeous. And she was very savvy because she was placing an order this morning and she spotted them. Archer. He's called Archer and he's 9 weeks early, but a huge fighter. Oh, Joanne, I hope Mum and Dad and Archer are doing well. That's so lovely. If you're allowed to share a picture, will you send me a picture? Or I'll befriend you and then let me have a nosy on your Facebook or something. Rachel says, lovely make, thank you. Thank you so much for being patient with me today. I felt a little bit out of sync this morning and I'm not sure why. And then the camera was also just not doing its own thing. But I hope I've shown you how easy it is to do these bracelets. They're really, really lovely. They're so simple to do. I'm really liking the teal colour this morning. As I say, you can adjust them to fit any size you want by just changing the length of the wire. This one's much bigger, so it will kind of have a little bit more movement on my wrist. You don't have to make them as tight as the one that I'm wearing. Just flapping me bingo wing at you know. But look at them, they're really, really lovely, really easy to make, and lots of fun to do. So give them a go if you can. Jan says, thank you, Natalie. I'm attempting this bracelet at the moment. I hope it goes well for you, Jan. If at all you think, I don't know what's going on, or I need a little bit more help with that, then please drop me a message, drop me a comment on this video, and I'll do my best to respond. Have a lovely weekend, everybody, whatever you're doing, especially Joanne, who's probably just having snuggles. Oh, Angela, thank you. She says, we love you for all the little mishaps, makes us feel a little bit better. I'm definitely human and some days I don't function on all cylinders. But we're all mates, aren't we? Trish says, gorgeous, make the pink one so pretty. They're lovely, really, really lovely. Have fun making. Have a lovely weekend, everybody, and I will catch you on Monday with the very pretty pearly